Rantastro.
Hey, guess who it is?
It's Rantastro. I said it was you. It's always you. You show up every April. What took you so long?
Well, I was really busy having to do sex near ladies.
Near?
So this year, I was thinking that I would...
No, you know what? I'm not doing this again. I've been putting up with you for the last 5 years now. You show up, you want to review some straight thing that's actually completely gay, but you don't get that because you're the part of me that used to be in the closet. So we argue about it, we sing, you disappear, but then you come back next year and it happens all over again. We play this game every April and nobody ever wins. So this time, I'm not playing. You go ahead and talk about whatever straight thing you want to.
Are you okay?
I'm great, because I'm finally doing the one thing I can do to get rid of you. I'm hanging up.
Wait, Rantasmo... I'm Rantastro, and...
What?
I can't do this without you.
Yeah, that's kind of the idea. I don't want you to do this. I don't even want you to exist.
But I do exist, and that's not something I could change even if I wanted to. Whether you like it or not, I'm a part of your history, and fighting me or singing show tunes or even ignoring me won't change that.
What were you planning to review?
Dante's Cove.
What? Dante's Cove? The softcore gay porn wizard soap opera?
It's not gay, it's about gym bros who give each other lots of friendly, deep tissue post-workout massages.
Anyways, I already reviewed that. That's the first episode I ever did. Back when I apparently lived at the bottom of a well.
Well, good. Then you know how many things in it are completely heterosexual. Things like tank tops, chainmail tank tops, ghost children, fun taxi rides, and Tina Fey. That's not who that is.
Well, look, I've already reviewed season 1, so if you're really dead set on reviewing the straightest show ever, how about helping me recap season 2?
I don't know. Is it as straight as the first one?
It is exactly as straight as the first one. If you don't remember the details of season 1 of Dante's Cove, that's because there aren't very many details worth remembering. It's moderately attractive people having sex on the beach and casting spells. These two guys are Toby and Kevin. They had sex pretty much constantly during the first season. They have a lesbian spellcasting friend named Van. An evil warlock named Ambrosius wants to bone Kevin, and Ambrosius' witchy ex-fiancée Grace hates him because of that time he had butt sex with the butler. Butler sex.
That wasn't sex, it was a massage. A butt massage.
Back during the first episode of my show, one of the things I failed to make clear was that the first season of Dante's Cove was basically just 2 movie-length episodes. And I think that part of the reason why it had so many glaring structural issues and constant pointless sex scenes,
massage scenes,
was that it was probably originally written as multiple shorter episodes that, for whatever reason, ended up getting squished into these big fluffy monstrosities. On the whole, season 2 of Dante's Cove is slightly better than the first one. Notice I say better and not good. This season is 5-hour-long episodes, which helps to even out the story a little bit. The sex scenes are still abundant, but they're not quite as long, and they often bear at least some relevance to the plot. They also trimmed out some of the more extraneous elements from the first season that didn't really serve much purpose. Those random lesbians who just made out and had literally no effect on the story, basically retconned out. Those annoying, mysterious ghost children, literally magicked away in the season premiere. Also, there's this one straight guy in the first season named Adam, played by the guy from Arrow, who just kinda shows up with a bare oiled chest talking about how straight he is and is pretty much never seen again. But in this season, they recast him with a different actor, and he's a fairly major character who actually plays a somewhat active role.
See, I told you this was a straight show.
There have also been a few cosmetic changes. They shot in an entirely different location for this season, so the sets are all completely different, and because of curfew restrictions, there are a lot more scenes that take place during the day. And because this is a show aimed at gay people in the mid-2000s, they naturally turned the theme song into a techno remix. Because, why not? The series picks up shortly after Toby was bludgeoned and dumped into the ocean, which he seems to have recovered from rather quickly, and Kevin manages to evade Ambrosius's creepy times. Meanwhile, Grace has escaped from her dungeon and kisses a random naked guy to remove her aging curse and keep the show's makeup budget in check. Back at the Hotel Dante, we meet a few new characters, among them Michelle, who's basically been retconned as Van's girlfriend. They also go ahead and establish that people actually own the hotel and that the characters have actual jobs, with no sexual harassment policy. They even give Kevin a little bit of depth in that he feels guilty about Toby buying him gifts, so he decides that he wants a job too, and he and Toby celebrate this declaration by, surprise, having sex.
You don't know they're about to have sex.
Why don't you give me a gift right now?
See, they're just gonna give each other gifts. Like sports trophies and Axe body spray.
Meanwhile, Van has started to experiment more with magic, which makes Michelle and Toby a bit nervous.
To do the ritual, first I'm gonna need a bowl.
Okay, whoa, just slow down.
You didn't say anything about bowls. Ambrosius gives himself a makeover and puts the whammy on Kevin to make him forget about what a creepy rapist he is. He also starts calling himself Bro, which might be the worst thing I've ever heard.
Call me bro.
Maybe I should shorten my name too. Something like Row or Rant or Ass.
So, Bro discovers that Toby isn't dead, and he's about to kill him with his cheesy red magic, but then Van uses her cheesy blue magic to send him and Corey into the ocean or something. Notice that the special effects in this show haven't improved much since the last season. Evil Ghost Rider, you came back! Oh, Evil Ghost Rider. You're horrifying. Corey ends up dead, and Michelle gets upset because Van is using too much magic. So Van casts a spell to erase Michelle's memory. This is sounding more and more like Willow's storyline from Buffy. Anyways, the spell ends up backfiring, and it makes Michelle forget about Van entirely. Ambrosius has survived the attack, and it turns out that this other witch named Diana, later revealed to be Grace's sister, was the one who taught him magic, and is way too good an actor for this show. Van starts taking magic lessons from Grace, and the two of them put a spell on Kevin to protect him from Bro's love charms, which of course pisses him off, and they have like a magical knife fight. Diana invites Van to her house, where she finds a mysterious broken doll, as well as a scroll she can't read. Meanwhile, Adam, the straight heterosexual who loves to date women, visits a gay sex club to get this mysterious drug called Saint, which he gets more and more addicted to over the course of the season. Ambrosius takes advantage of this and ends up showing him this fountain in the woods surrounded by saint flowers. Adam's friends give him an intervention, which doesn't go too well, and Van ends up following him to his secret drug garden and discovers that the water from the fountain lets her read Diana's scroll. The drug also seems to have the side effect of making Adam realize that he's into guys.
I don't know, this all still seems pretty straight to me.
How? How can you possibly interpret any of this as straight? The screen is literally full of guys f***ing each other in the ass.
They're just working out. They're doing like squat thrusts or burpees or something. I'm pretty sure that's what a burpee is.
So Van takes a shower in the water from the fountain and learns that the Libra solstice is coming. And all of the witches and warlocks in Dante's Cove are fighting for the chance to do this ritual that basically lets them go back in time and change one event. But in order to do the ritual, they need a willing aspirant to increase their power or something. Michelle starts to have disturbing flashbacks of her previous life, and she goes to Van for help, but Van is convinced that Michelle is better off without her. So Michelle decides to take her own life by walking into the ocean. I have to admit, this is actually a fairly affecting scene. Erin Cummings is actually one of the show's better actors, and her subtle performance really emphasizes the tragedy of
boring. So then Kevin's bro from high school shows up. His name's Derek, and he's getting married to a woman, which proves that he's definitely for real hetero. And he and Kevin have a mega straight convo about all the chicks they want to have sex done at.
Oh yeah, dude. The hot babes everywhere.
You must be in heaven. Tapping ass every weekend.
Oh yeah, dude. I do love those babes.
Finally, some believable dialogue. Van agrees to help Stevie Nicks do the solstice ritual if she'll find a way to bring Michelle back to life. Ambrosius still wants to be best bros with Kevin, and he's totally PO'd that his best bro magic won't work anymore. But then he remembers that his mom actually put like a best bro spell on that doll from before that makes anyone who touches it want to be bros with the next person they see.
Right. Bros. As it happens, Derek's Mimbo friend, whose name I'm not going to bother trying to find out, repairs the doll, which reactivates the love spell, and through a series of shenanigans, he falls in love with Van, Derek falls in love with Kevin, these two randos in a kitchen, and Toby briefly becomes infatuated with Adam, but the power of his love for Kevin somehow grants him a moment of clarity, and he smashes the doll, breaking the spell.
So then Ambrosius holds Kevin's bro hostage and demands that he help him do the solstice ritual. So Bro and Grace throw down over who gets to do the ritual. But then Diana shows up and explodes the shit out of them.
Van convinces Diana to let her do the ritual, and she goes back in time to tell Michelle the truth and keep her from drowning herself.
Everything seems cool, but then Bro shows up and says that since Kevin agreed to be best bros with him, he's magically bound to be his, slave bro, which is definitely not cool.
Kevin! Kevin!
And that's how the season ends.
That wasn't too bad, but I kind of feel like this season was missing something.
Likeable characters, a coherent story structure, a decent sense of pacing. More gay sex.
It's definitely one of those things.
You know, as much as I've hated on this show, there's really nothing else like it. Even now, how many shows with a practically all-queer cast do you ever see? Not to mention one with this many real-life queer actors in the cast. And there's even witches in it. Yeah, I wish it could have been executed a little better, but I can also just appreciate it for what it was. It's kind of like you, Rantastro. As much as I sometimes wish I could have a do-over of all those years I spent in the closet, I can't just pretend they never happened. I have to just accept you as you are.
Does this mean we're not gonna sing?
Well, whenever we sing, you disappear for a year. Maybe we could just hang out for a while?
I don't know. That sounds kind of gay.
We could start watching the next season of the show about the totally straight wizard bro massages.
Now you're talking. What? What'd he say?
He said we should have sex with each other.
What? Is that even possible? Is it though?